Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. On this episode, we'll be discussing Paley Fest. It isn't so pale after all. Super Mario is getting animated, so what else should be? And we take questions from you, the fans. Plus, from the Outside In topic this week, the state of streaming. Who are the winners and losers, and which ones should you subscribe to today? Let's go ahead and get on with the show. My name is Troy Heinrichs, and I am sitting in the first chair to give Aaron a week off because he was doing so much with South by Southwest and the Oscars and all that other fun stuff. Plus, he has a day job, and he is on the board for the Beloit International Film Festival. So
you just read off half of the things that I'm also in, and I'm here.
Well, that's because you had off last week. So
right.
We decided to change it up.
Last week I had South by Southwest. Oh, wait, no.
Let's calm it down a little bit. You were good for 4 weeks straight, and that's only because we do things 2 weeks at a time.
So this this is Aaron's first time off in 10 years. All right.
It's been a minute that he's had his respite.
It's been 1 week since it's I
thought we were gonna go. It's been a while, and think of Justin McCumber.
Just think of Justin McCumber,
former host,
for sure. But I am here with fellow hoes, and that wonderful voice you do hear is Amanda Sink, back once again.
Hello.
And, of course, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Arjan.
Hey, buddy. Hi, Amanda. How's everybody doing today?
Hey, fellas.
Doing great, especially because this week is the week of all weeks. Because we have one thing that just finished and one thing that is just about to occur. So let's go ahead with what's coming up because people are super excited. We have actually had a premiere of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's me, Mario.
And so far people are saying it is awesome. There's a few naysayers because naysayers are going to be there, especially when it comes to video games. But so far it looks like critics are saying Super Mario is going to be knocking it out of the park this weekend. So it got us thinking about, here's this video game turned animated movie. Is there anything else that we should make into an animated film?
I came across a couple of ideas when I was thinking about this, and the one of the things that let's go over the video game, all right? So there's a video game from the late 90s called Dungeon Keeper. It was on PC only, where you are a dungeon master and you are building your dungeon and attracting other monsters to come defend your dungeon from adventurers. And I would like to see something kind of fun in that same vein, where you're like a nebbish dungeon master, kind of, like a lich. Like if you ever see the comic Stephen the Lich, where he's kind of not really scary or anything. He's just a normal nebbish kind of dude, and he does his own thing. Something kind of like that, where you're following this guy building his dungeon and attracting everyone, and they're kind of having because throughout the game you're fighting with not fighting, but you're trying to get this union under control, and you're trying to make sure everyone's fed and they have enough rooms to torture people in, and then of course you got to send them to go fight everything. I think there's a story there that would be great to mine for a fun cartoon, especially in the same sort of animation style that not the Warner Brothers, but the Mario Brothers, same difference, right?
I heard it both ways.
Are doing. And then the other thing that came to mind is that I would love to see a movie treatment in animation form of Silverhawks. I think that would be a lot of fun. So if you remember, Silverhawks. What's that?
Is that tied to Arcane on Netflix somehow?
Silverhawks?
Yeah.
No, Silverhawks is a 1985 cartoon. It came out after Thundercats, and the whole premise was you had these space cops that they gave up their human bodies to be cyborgs that basically had hawk features or space hawk features. So it was a lot of fun as far as a cartoon goes. And I really loved it because hawks. And if you know me in my personal world, that's a thing. And yeah, I've always loved that. So I'd like to see a cool animation sort of setup. And, if they did it stylized, like we're seeing with Into the Spider-Verse or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, or even Arcane, stylized in that sense, where they are definitely leaning more towards the creative versus what the 1980s gave us, which were these half-hour toy commercials, that would be awesome.
I saw both those trailers, by the way, this weekend for Spider-Verse and Turtles. And yeah, the styles are really unique. Like I couldn't even tell if the Turtles trailer was like claymation or if it was a cross between claymation and shadow style art or something. It was really unique and really different.
Well, both of those movies are really playing towards the aesthetic of old school comic printing, right? So what you're seeing is some of the shadows are just squiggly lines and of a different color. So you have this purple squiggly line that's supposed to be a shadow, and it works because that's how eyes work. Our eyes will play tricks with us, but if you've practiced enough, you'll actually see the different components of it. And then Spider-Verse is really leaning towards old school graphics printing of how comics were printed, where you're seeing more of that. I can't. It's not dot matrix, but it's all right. It doesn't matter. I'm forgetting the word of what it is, but there's a printing style which it's all kind of dot related, and it's layered.
Like pixel art, or
kind of like no, pixel art isn't the right word for it. I'm so annoyed that I don't remember what it's called, but it's an old school printing style where because of screen printing and whatnot, where they used to poke dots in the ink so that that's where or poke. You get the point. It's a old school comic kind of feeling to it.
It's cool. What about you, Amanda? What would you like to see from your childhood or even current day turned into an animated movie?
The thing that I thought about was actually translating an existing movie that's live action into animated, and that being Kill Bill. I just think it would be really fun to see. I mean, anytime you have an animated property where there's blood and mayhem, it always looks really cool. And they can do a lot more with it because it's animated. So that's what I think would be a lot of fun, is seeing a property like that turned into an animation.
Yeah, I was thinking more like the Jason Bourne series, getting that some kind of animated treatment. Because I think that could be kind of cool, where you could do like a multiverse situation where there's multiple Jason Bournes that meet up with each other, kind of like Spider-Verse is doing. I think that would be super cool and interesting to play with.
Halftoning. It's called halftone.
Halftone. Yes. Now I know what you're talking about. Now that you say it, now that I remember exactly what you're talking about. It's cool. I think there could be a lot of things that could be. I mean, and I guess it's a question of what kind of animation style do you want to go towards, right? Do you go towards the Illumination Minions, computer generated type style? Do you go more 2-layer, old school Disney, or do you do claymation type animation, which obviously is the rage now since Guillermo del Toro won his award this year?
I honestly lean towards more, and I don't know the specific type of animation. I guess I'll defer to John for this, but things like Castlevania, that's the type of.
That's more of an that's more rooted in anime, that style. Mm-hmm. So, which is still, there's a lot of aspects of that is still very much done by hand. So, what's cool about anime is that you have these highly stylized backgrounds and foregrounds and middle grounds, and then which they can actually generate some of that by computer, and some of that's done by hand. But the characters themselves are always, or at least it used to be this way, but from what I'm tracking, in a lot of cases, it's still this way, where they're still doing a lot of that work by hand. And if they're not doing it by hand, they're using the next closest thing, which is a digitizer that has a screen on it, and they're drawing directly on the screen, where that they're saving the process of scanning. When it comes to animations, there's still a magic to me when it comes to something that's more hand drawn, as opposed to the CGI effects of Pixar, or there's a different kind of magic in each one, but there's that hand drawn stuff just still has a way of capturing imagination more than the Pixar stuff does. I think it has to do with the fact that you're not suspending disbelief nearly as much between the Pixar stuff or something like it than you would be with the animation stuff.
And maybe tying into John's Dungeons stuff, and then tying into the blood and gore from Amanda, since Dungeons and Dragons did such a great job at the box office this past weekend. I think one thing that would be ripe to be made into a movie animation style would probably be Diablo, especially because Diablo 4 is on the cusp. Like, it'd be great marketing tie-in to have Diablo 4 plus a movie kind of come out at the same time. Just really cool story about how, especially from Diablo 1 to Diablo 2, how that kind of transgressed between the two games. Like you could really get a property universe type situation out of Diablo, I would think.
I really think we're running into a great renaissance in animation lately because of what we're getting from some of these streaming services. We just got from Netflix, we got the He-Man, what do you want to call it?
Somewhat enjoyable show.
Yeah, I mean, most of it was enjoyable. But a lot of people had a problem. Well, not getting too much into it, but a lot of people had a problem with it because it wasn't necessarily a He-Man show. It was still very cool. But then you have on Amazon, you've got the Boys had an animation feature to it, which is The Boys Diabolico, which is great. And then you have whenever finally we're going to get a second season of Invincible is going to be awesome. And then of course Vox Machina, which is mind-blowingly good, and if you listen to that podcast and watch the animation, you will honestly cry at some point. And I know there's a couple other great things, and back to Netflix where we get to Arcane was amazing, and I want to see more of that kind of thing. Now that we have so many different platforms in which people are able to pump out these animation projects, it would be great to see a lot more, because there's a lot of storytelling that can be done better through animation than it can in real life, just because of that ability to suspend your disbelief much quicker. And it's a lot of it'd be a lot of cool ways of really telling stories out there that way.
There's a really cool show too over on I believe it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Undone, and it's got 2 seasons out currently. And what they do with that show is it's kind of live action film, but also animated at the same time. And they use a process called rotoscoping in order to make it have that grainy kind of feel to it. And it's fascinating on the art style of how it works, and for the type of topic that it's doing, where she can potentially transport herself through time, or is she really transporting herself through her own memories, thinking she's time traveling? But the aspects you can do to show off the time traveling components of that situation to then make it feel mysterious and magical and mystical, because you can throw in the animation elements with the real life elements of the actors. I think it's really a great concept, and I'd love to see more movies come out that way as well.
Yeah, rotoscoping is a fascinating process because of what you can do with it. And then it really messes with your head, because you're like, I'm watching a real person move, but it's an animation. So if you look at how He-Man was done, those parts of He-Man that was rotoscoped, the original cartoon, they rotoscoped it as much as they possibly could, and then they just kept on reusing scenes from different parts. Oh, look, they're running, okay, we're going to do the running. That's why the running looks so good, and some of the movements look so good in He-Man is because they rotoscoped that. There's a documentary that uses rotoscope to tell the story of one of the Dallas shootings from the tower. Just beautifully executed as far as a story is concerned, but it does tell the story without horrifying you to a degree of really messing with you by what nightmares that happened there. There was a full feature film, Scanner Darkly, I believe, was rotoscope. Again, it's a fascinating way of doing storytelling. I think we should be using more stylized ways of doing that, because I think it's a great time for a renaissance in filmmaking, and using every aspect and every tool we can to tell the stories.
Well, let us know what you would like to see animated over in the comments, Facebook, Twitter. Obviously, you can find us at Buy Popcorn on Twitter, in the Facebook group, and on the page. And then, of course, you can email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. This past weekend, though, was Paley Fest in LA. I was supposed to go. Fortunately, I had some other commitments come up, so I had a friend attend. And apparently, there was some big news coming out of Paley Fest. The way it works is it's a multi-night event at the Dolby Theater in downtown LA. And in Hollywood, basically. And what they had was a Mandalorian panel, a Yellowstone panel. There was a Greys panel, Yellow Jackets season 2, Maisel final season 5. All these panels were going on over the weekend, except that at the very last minute for the Yellowstone panel, Kevin Costner, Taylor Sheridan, a bunch of people just decided to not show up for the panel on Saturday at the Dolby Theater. and it set off like a whole cavalcade of information over the internet. So I think first and foremost, the question is we're in the second half of what may potentially be the final season, we've heard. What do you guys think about this whole situation of Costner not showing up? Do you think it's a Costner being an Aaron Rodgers type thing where he's trying to hold the show hostage, or is he really just kind of done with Yellowstone and wants to move on?
I mean, I think anything we say would just be pure speculation, but
the media is speculating, so speculate. What do you think?
I'm assuming that...
Are we the media?
I mean,
supposedly,
shit, we're the media.
PETA had thoughts on our last episode, so we're the damn media. I'm saying.
I guess so.
But no, I think it is probably just more of the latter, in my opinion, where, maybe he's just tapping out.
I think it's just interesting that there was literally, they didn't show up, right? And then the next, like, they still had the panel, and then everybody's like, oh no, Kevin's still a really big part of this, and we're totally certain Kevin's going to be on board. It literally sounds to me like what I've been following with the Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers stuff. Like, it just feels like, are we at a point where actors can hold shows hostage because if they don't come back, it could actually impact the show? Is an actor actually big enough to do that in today's day and age, do you think?
No offense, but I don't think Kevin Costner is anymore.
Is there someone you think that could hold a show hostage?
That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of a good example of a show that even could do that. And
like Millie Bobby Brown for Stranger Things.
No, I don't think that she would end it. I think maybe in the beginning she got so much notoriety that people made it seem like, the media made it seem like she was everything for Stranger Things. And in the first season, I could probably buy that. But at this point, we have so much investment into the world that there is, at least for me, I can only speak for myself, that would not deter me or defer me from continuing to watch Stranger Things if she weren't in it. I still love the rest of the cast. And I mean, we've seen some really weird stuff with TV shows where the lead is completely exiting the show. Now, Grey's Anatomy, I think, is an example of one where they would just end the show if she left. Like, she's the reason that they're continuing it. But do I think that the show needs her to survive? Needs Ellen Pompeo? No, not anymore.
Oh, and it doesn't, right? Because she's obviously not on the show anymore.
But I mean, even in the last handful of seasons, she has not been the draw for the show.
Right. I definitely think it's oh my gosh, Camilla Luddington's character, Jo. And,
oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think she's the reason why people are sticking around, and just the relationship between her and Link, right, on the show. I think that's the main draw for Grey's right now. And of course, the new class that came in this season is actually pretty interesting to see where they would go. I was trying to think, even in the Lost days, or if Jennifer Garner would basically hold on Alias, or Terry O'Quinn would hold on coming back as John Locke. I don't know if those shows would have been as successful as they would have been if they had held out. I don't think there's anything in a modern day, 24, for example. If Kiefer Sutherland would have held out, do you think that 24 would have been as good without Kiefer? And I think we got that answer because they brought the Live Another, or not Live Another Day, but the rebooted one that came after Live Another Day. That one came out and it just wasn't as exciting and as good without Kiefer behind the helm.
Yeah, no, it's possible for, I believe it's possible for a star to hold up a show like that. Is Kevin Costner somebody who's big enough to hold back a show? It's Kevin Costner. I don't know anything about the show, but he is the biggest name on that show, as I understand it. And them getting him was a pretty big win for the show itself. So can he hold it up? Maybe, maybe not. I think there's enough women who watch that show for, number one, the cowboy outfits, and number two, Rip, that maybe they can keep going, but it's none of my business.
I mean, I think it's just really interesting that Taylor Sheridan wasn't even there, right? The new lineup came out and they said that it was because of, scheduling conflicts, quote unquote, right? But it was supposed to be Taylor Sheridan, Kevin Costner, Kelly Riley, Cole Hauser, Luke Grimes. But then it came out to be the new lineup ended up being Keith Cox, president of Scripted at MTV Entertainment Studios, Mo Brings, Don Oliveri, and Josh Lucas. So it's like the whole lineup changed. from what was supposed to be there originally.
So they're supposed to have the stars of the show, and they get the D squad. Wait, who are these people? We don't know. Okay, I guess we're gonna listen to them now.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things, right? In February, Deadline reported that Sheridan and Paramount were working on taking Yellowstone in a completely new direction without Costner and bringing Matthew McConaughey on board. But now they're saying that Matthew McConaughey is supposedly going to be in a spin-off version of Yellowstone. So this is an interesting developing story. Obviously, it happened just over the weekend. Keep an eye out for this. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but we'll see as things progress.
You know, I think Pedro Pascal is getting to the point where he could be that person.
But what show?
If I think about
what show would
Last
he be in?
of Us,
Yeah, but could he
Mandalorian.
But he, like Mandalorian, he never takes off his helmet, so that could be anybody sitting underneath there doing that work.
But we would know, and I feel like it just wouldn't be the same. That's true.
And The Last of Us is good, but I think you can go a whole different direction, like kind of True Detective, and have a completely different season
That's
with
true.
completely
That's
different
true.
characters because the world is so big.
You can AR. I think it's AR. Is it augmented reality?
Like do a voice digitate, use Pedro's voice, but not Pedro in the suit.
Yeah, and I've seen I've seen stuff on Instagram where they have that scene where the armorer is like, "You're a Mandalorian no more," and he's like, "The show is literally," and it sounds like Pedro's voice. What are you talking about? The show is literally named after me. I am walking around with the Darksaber strapped to my back. What do you mean I am not a Mandalorian? And it sounds like Pedro the whole time, and some nitwit probably did it on their phone.
It's true. Yeah,
I'm going through so many TV shows right now, and I'm every single one of them. I'm like, you don't need the lead. You don't. There's nobody in here that the show couldn't survive without. It's just
all right. Let's play a quick game. Give us the show, and let's see if Choi and I agree.
all right. Here's the one that I teetered on the most. Okay,
okay.
Ted Lasso.
Well, it's named after Ted.
I understand. It could go in a different direction though.
Yeah, you could totally have Brett Goldstein's character become the coach, and as long as Coach Beard is there for the off kilter stuff, you'd be fine.
But that would be a whole different show. So that you're changing the entire show.
Well,
Would people
anytime
watch
that
it?
happens, it changes the whole show.
Right.
It's still called Grey's Anatomy, and Grey is not on the show anymore.
Right. Take Megan Boone leaving Blacklist. Completely different show.
I think that was more because there was different writers that wrote season 9 and season 10. It wasn't just Liz leaving. It was...
Oh, right. The writers suck. That's right.
Yeah.
Succession.
I would say the writers suck. I said there's a different set of writers, so it's a completely different feel to the show than what was there before.
What about Succession? Have either of you watched that?
That's an ensemble
Is it?
cast, though. So I mean, you have
true.
to
That's
find
true.
something that's got like a purebred lead, like Jack Bauer 24 type of show.
I don't watch Succession, but isn't Brian Cox supposed to be the end all be all of villains on that show?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not that far into it yet.
Yeah, I'm not that far. I've never
Spoiler!
watched it. I've never watched it, so I was just assuming because of like the trailers that I've seen that everyone's always like, "We got to get him," and he's always outsmarting all his kids. But without the without the main person to succeed over, kind of a different show.
I mean, and I don't know enough about the family in Succession because I just started it recently. But I mean, I could very easily say, well, if it's the kids fighting against the dad, you can always have the season where it's like, oh, it was the mom all the time behind this puppet string.
All right, fair enough.
That's an easy right around. It's a lame right around, but it's an easy right around. What else you got, Amanda?
Honestly, I feel like most of these shows fall into a more ensemble that are popular now. But one that I was thinking about is some of the Marvel shows. Like, I know we're kind of over Marvel and everything, but is there any Marvel show where you're like, I could not see anybody else?
The Hawkeye.
Yeah, like take that spot because we know it's possible.
Well, the funny thing is that the Hawkeye show was all about somebody else becoming Hawkeye. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was all about somebody else becoming Captain America. All of those shows are now. If you said that, actually, speaking of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if you took Anthony Mackie out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and tried to put any other person as quote unquote the Falcon, that show loses it, because the fact that Anthony Mackie was Falcon, the fact that Sebastian Stan was the Winter Soldier, and the on-screen chemistry that those two actors have together make that show what it is. And then Anthony Mackie being able to play Ernest the way he did in that show makes that show what it is. So if you tried to throw anybody else in there, you're going to, number one, lose credibility with your fans, you lose credibility about the story, and you have to start from the beginning to capture all of that back. So that's something where if you took Sebastian Stan out of it and or Anthony Mackie out of it, I think that doesn't work anymore.
Fair. I think that would work.
What about something like The Boys, where there's definitely a star, even though it's an ensemble cast, it's more one person who stands out?
Yeah, it's Carl Urban's show. If he wasn't in the show, the show would be okay, but it wouldn't be what it is right now.
Yeah, I do kind of watch it for
example.
Carl Urban. I don't watch it for Homelander.
Yeah.
Homelander could die, and you could have a completely different badass superhero. Sorry, super baddie. What do you call him?
Yeah, I mean, Homelander's. He is interesting, but I can take or leave Homelander. I need Mother's Milk. I need Huey. I need Frenchie, and I have to have. There is not even an argument about this. There's no discussion. There's no buying it. It has to be Carl Urban.
All right.
One for me, and I'll just leave this as our end note, that is very recent, but I don't think I would want anybody else in the role, or else I would be not as interested. Wednesday, if they were to change Jenna Ortega.
In that iteration of the show, specifically, is what you're saying.
Specifically, yeah.
I didn't watch it yet. I haven't watched it yet, but
John.
Let me ask this question.
I know.
What if Wednesday dies in the third season? Could the show still go on without Wednesday being?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But see, what we're getting to is essentially it is so far and few between that is the case anymore, where an actor carries that much weight, at least for television. I can see movies like John Wick, Keanu Reeves isn't in it. Nobody is going to pay attention anymore. Keanu Reeves has made that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if Keanu doesn't want to do another John Wick film or a John Wick TV series, that would never take off.
Right. But those are so far and few between anymore.
But if you call it the Continental, then all of a sudden it becomes, it's a different show. Then it could totally do its own thing.
You can essentially go and do an offshoot of everything. You can take any show and take a couple characters and create a whole new world, and all of a sudden it's a good show. But ultimately you're taking one lead character. You're bypassing one lead character to turn somebody else who has lead stamina and making them a lead. Let's give you a perfectly good example. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You have Angel, who has the ability of capturing an audience, has a good following behind him, and you take him out of that show and you put him in his own show. So technically, you've effectively taken Buffy out of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and made it about somebody else and changed it entirely. And that's all we're talking about, is creating new universes. When you say, can we take a lead out of a show now? Your answer is, well, yeah, it can be like Ted Lasso. Let's follow this other coach. Okay, well then it's not Ted Lasso anymore. It could have the same chops as Ted Lasso. It could have the same sort of feel as Ted Lasso. But supposedly, and I refuse to watch the show, stop trying to make me watch it, but I hear the heart of Ted Lasso is actually Ted Lasso.
I think the heart of Ted Lasso is all the characters, but
definitely Ted Lasso.
You need someone to drive the ensemble. And you have not watched it yet, John? What kind of heathen are you?
Don't you want happiness?
No, I don't.
Why?
Ted Lasso and Cobra Kai can go sit in a room and fondle each other up, and I still won't watch it, okay?
Why?
Wow.
Because everyone wants me to watch it, and I just don't have that. I tried to watch Power.
So you're just going to be a naysayer. You're just going to be like, nah, it's too popular.
No, it's not that it's too popular. I just don't like the pressure because I feel like if I watch it and I don't like it, then people are going to be like, "Whoa, there's something wrong with you." And the answer is, that's what I've been saying. But also, I'm still having trouble in this current state of my life in watching things that are brand new. I tried watching the new show Power on Amazon, and I got 5 seconds into the show, and I went, you know what would be a better idea? Let me put the Dungeons and Dragons movie from 2001 on here, because I'm going to clearly enjoy that a lot better than I'm enjoying these first 5 seconds of this show. And it's not anything wrong with the show. It's just because I can't deal with the anxiety of watching something new and not liking it.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, my friend Jeremiah was at the Paley Festival, and he is going to chime in here and share a few words about what he experienced while he was there on the ground at the Dolby Theater in LA.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeremiah, a longtime TV and film podcaster and friend of Troy, here as a special correspondent for The Hollywood Outsider to talk a little bit about this year's Paley Fest LA. Troy was super nice enough to invite me to join along with him for this year's panels in LA, but unfortunately, of course, Troy was unable to join. So this means, of course, you're stuck with just me. You may be asking yourself, what exactly is Paley Fest LA? Well, I'm glad you asked. Paley Fest is part of the Paley Center Media. Paley Fest is the nation's premier TV festival. The festival brings fans together for an opportunity to be in a close environment with some of the hottest stars and hear some of the behind-the-scenes scoops of their favorite shows. Each event features a premiere screening or an episode specially chosen for the Paley Fest fans, followed by a conversation with the stars and curators. This year's panels included The Mandalorian, The Late Show with James Corden, About Elementary, Yellow Jackets, Yellowstone, Grey's Anatomy, and The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Now, I had an opportunity to go to 2 of these events. I chose The Mandalorian and The Marvelous Miss Maisel. As of recording this particular report, I have already been to the Mandalorian event. So let's talk a little bit about that Mandalorian event. In attendance this year, you had Pedro Pascal and Katie Stackhoff for the acting side. Now, on the producing side, we had the great Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Rick Famuyiwa, which I don't know how I pronounce his name, but anyway, Rick's, of course, but also been involved in the producing side. And hosting the show was Entertainment Tonight's Ash Crossman. The show started off with a screening of the latest episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 21, The Pirate, and I will admit that was a special experience. Being able to watch the episode with a group of fans really reminded me what it was like to go and see the movies on the big screen, where everyone was exciting and cheering and clapping and all that stuff. It was just a lot of fun. It really starts off the event in a nice way. Now, no surprise when it got to the Q&A portion, there's certain questions that the host has to, curate. They can't ask things that, the show that the creators are unable to answer. But we did get a few fun takeaways from this particular panel. One of the things I really enjoy hearing from this particular panel, one of my favorite moments in the panel was when John and Dave opened up about what it was like to create this show in a live action format. It was special. It was definitely special to hear Dave Filoni open up about what it's like to see all these characters that he's created for his animated stuff to be on a live action show. It was really special. Dave himself really stole the show. Him and Pedro Pascal was fantastic. We also got to hear both Pedro Pascal and Katie talk about what it was like to put the costumes on and how it really brought this thing to life to them, especially for Katie, who, of course, has been doing the voice of Bo-Katan, and now she's able to play this character in this live action format. It really was a lot of fun. John and Dave also talked a lot about the importance of keeping things a secret and how it's been a big part of the success of the show. Obviously, you had the big secret with Grogu being from the premiere. And then during, of course, the finale of Season 2, we had this Luke Skywalker moment. They really love the idea of enhancing the fan experience, and these secrets are really important to the show. Now, a funny moment was when Pedro admitted that he knew that it was Luke Skywalker. And the reason why that was funny is because Katie apparently did not know that Pedro knew that it was Luke Skywalker, and she was a little bit offended that she did not know this information. It was really funny because she gave Dave a very hard time because, as you can imagine, her and Dave have become really good friends over the years. When asked about the timeline, about how much more Mandalorian we can expect, they were very careful not to share too much in that aspect. But they did at least share that they are really enjoying making these shows and plan to do as much as Disney will allow. So I walked away from this panel knowing that we are going to continue to get many of these great Star Wars stories. And personally, I love the direction both John and Dave have been going with them. And I'm excited to see what else they have in store. So overall, I felt like it was a great night and a great experience for everyone who went. What's really special about this is that anyone can go to these events. So if you're listening to me right now and you happen to be in the LA area during these events, I highly recommend it. Now, if you want some more information, you can about Paley itself, or if you just want to find out where you can get tickets, go to paleycenter.org, and they have all that information there for you. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick review of this year's Paley Fest LA. This is Jeremiah signing off here for The Hollywood Outsider.
All right. Well, we did have some movie reviews this week. Paint is on the way to hit our screens, and John was able to check it out. What do we say, Amanda and John, about Paint?
All right. So Carl is a local treasure with a soothing whisper of a voice who hosts his own painting show on Vermont Public Television. His art has attracted the attention of many women over the years, especially those who work at the station. However, when a new painter gets hired to revitalize the channel, Carl's own fears regarding his talents as an artist are brought to the forefront. And this has Owen Wilson as the star. John, is this like parody comedy? What kind of comedy are we looking at here?
So it is a bit of a parody on the life of Bob Ross, only in the fact that you have somebody who's taken his appearance. You have an actor taking his appearance from Bob Ross for all the same reasons that Bob Ross took his appearance. An actor who talks the same kind of way Bob Ross did for all the same reasons Bob Ross did. But then they kind of go a different direction where he is just so wildly full of himself that he can't understand when things start changing on him, what's going on. So it is more of a parody than it is anything else.
So for people who are, because Owen Wilson is a little bit hit or miss for people, right? Like as an actor, some people really like him. Some people are like, I can't stand him. Wow. So for those who maybe aren't a big fan of Owen Wilson, is this something they're going to want to stray away from? Is he the standard Owen Wilson, or is there something different here?
So this reminded me a lot of the kind of stuff Owen Wilson did when he first came out, which there's a lot of like Bottle Rocket vibes here. Which, if you remember that movie, that was a movie that he did with his brother Luke, and it was like the first thing they did when they started breaking out into Hollywood. Is it the same like schlocky Owen Wilson? No, he's definitely playing a character here, and you have to, if you happen to like the kind of character he's playing, then you're going to enjoy him in this role.
All right. And it kind of sounds like there's a level of heart to the film. Like, even though there's parody comedy to it, this character is, like you mentioned, going through a lot of change, and he's struggling with that. He's struggling with, being the one who has led this channel, and now somebody else is coming forward and is taking that forefront. Do you have an emotional impact throughout the film? Does it finally achieve that heartiness that it seems to be going for?
So, yes, it does, but it does because you discover the motivations behind his character along the way, and you get to a point where you're finding that what he's been doing is actually incredibly relatable and incredibly it's because at first it seems like he's just being, the guy in charge, and everyone is just changing on him, and he doesn't adjust with it very well. But as soon as you start realizing what his biggest problem is, because you kind of come to the same realization exactly when he does, and when you get there, you're like, oh, well, all right, well, all of this actually makes so much more sense now. And when he finally makes that connection, he becomes even a little bit manic and even more relatable in that situation, and then finishes with a nice smile on your face. There's a lot of different moments in this movie that you're going to find yourself, if you have an idea of the history behind Bob Ross, smiling at it, kind of wishing that his life went this way, because it's a little bit more of a rewarding life for this character than unfortunately what Bob Ross and his family went through. So there's a lot going on that is definitely enjoyable.
All right. So if the full price of admission were $10, what are you giving Paint?
Paint is a solid $6 for me.
Okay. That's not bad.
And of course, Paint comes out this weekend in theaters, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. It'll stream exclusively on AMC Plus in the United States later in 2023. What else have we been watching? Anything else that we've not talked about yet that anybody checked out over the last week?
Lead us, Troy.
Well, I checked out the 2022 film that stars Leah Thompson's daughter, which I did not know as I was watching the situation. It's called Not Okay. It's about a wannabe writer who also is a wannabe Instagram fame pop star type influencer, because she wants to sleep with a dude. And because of that, she does all kinds of horrible things, like fake the fact that she's going to a writer's conference in Paris. And it just so happens that the morning she posts a tweet from her apartment in New York, not actually in Paris, there is a terrorist attack. And then she obviously has to figure out how to play this up on her Instagram, because obviously people thought she was in Paris. And so now she climbs to fame because of this as the survivor of a bombing. And it just goes off the rails as the story progresses. It's called Not Okay. And it was not okay. It's probably one of the weirdest things I've sat down and watched in a while. It's captivating to keep wanting it to move forward. It does this really quirky thing where they insert parts, it's like chapters of a book. And then the last chapter of the book is there is no redemption story. And you're still waiting for the redemption story to come, and there is no redemption story. So I don't know if it was just bad writing, bad acting. I don't know what it was in general. There's pieces of the movie where the heart is just about to come out, and then it just takes a completely weird turn. So Zoe Deutsch is the lead, and it was blah. It was not okay. For not okay.
That's disappointing. I do like her a lot.
Yeah, she great at. I mean, I thought she was really captivating on the screen to watch the entire time, especially the costume design and the things that they do for the Insta famous type stuff. The costumes were great, makeup was great, hairstyle was great, but the story itself just fell a little flat, unfortunately. I also was able to check out the first couple episodes of Rabbit Hole. Yes, for all of you Kiefer Sutherland 24 fans, Kiefer is back in Paramount Plus's exclusive Rabbit Hole. His name is John Weir, and he's a private espionage operative battling over the preservation of democracy in a world constantly at odds. It's basically gets hired by corporations to blackmail other corporations in order to help move their stocks. But there's some other nefarious thing that's happening in the background, and there's a pretty big reveal at the end of the second episode that'll basically get you hooked for the rest of the show. So if you are a Kiefer fan, if you were a 24 fan, what was the one he was on that was where he became the president of the United States? I forget the name of that show. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember it. But basically, if you're a fan of Kiefer,
Last Survivor or something like that.
Yeah, Designated Survivor. That's what it was.
Designated Survivor.
Yeah, if you like Designated Survivor, if you like 24, if you like person of interest, this is kind of that kind of show. So definitely check it out. If you're interested, it's Rabbit Hole over on Paramount Plus. All right, with that, we'll go in to our From the Outside In topic. Let's go ahead and talk about streaming. Streaming is obviously the way of the game. Cable continues to drop. People are not watching linear television. So of all the streaming services that are out there right now, Amanda, is there any streaming service where you're like, you know what? I just don't even need this one anymore. I'm never going to subscribe again. They've totally lost me.
When it comes specifically to the content they're creating, the network that I think is the most disappointing for me is Amazon Prime. The content that comes out of there, it's so seldom that I get excited about anything. And if it weren't for Amazon Prime subscription, like that being part and the video being part of it, there's no way that I would pay to subscribe to that. Even the shows that I do like that have come out of there, it is not enough for me to pay to subscribe to that, even at like $8 a month. That's the one I think is the most disappointing, because I also know it has the most potential.
What shows?
Like, they have so much money.
What shows specifically are your favorites from that service?
I mean, for sure, we have like Jack Reacher, and Swarm also came out on Amazon Prime recently, and that is one you should check out. We mentioned it for the South by Southwest episode, but that's a good show that they have. I was not crazy about the Rings of Power, so that kind of disappointed me too. There's just not much that really gets me going for them.
And is that because they kind of like blew the load initially? Like Bosch, Man on the High Castle, Mrs. Maisel's ending its 5th season, so there's not much to keep me around?
There's just something about, I don't feel like there's enough content for me to continually find something that I want. Whereas with Netflix, I'm like, okay, I can find something that I'm going to enjoy on here. Even if it's not this brand new thing, I can go back to some of my old favorites. Amazon Video, I should say, Prime Video, has a lot of options, but a lot of their options are through like rentals, and I don't care about that. It's about the subscription itself. And so those TV shows, some of them are good, some of them are mediocre, and the ones that are good, I feel like, to your point, Troy, end up losing its traction along the way. Mrs. Maisel is a great example. I blew through the first like 2 seasons, and I loved it. This newest season,
the 4th season, is not good.
I watched 1 episode and I haven't even gone back to it. And I haven't even thought about it until they were like, by the way, we're not renewing this anymore.
Even though the end of the 4th season, though, has some really great stuff that we've been like waiting for the entire time, and the setup for the 5th season is actually really good. But getting there was definitely a chore in the 4th season compared to the first 3.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's just something about the content they produce that feels so uninspired, ununique. You know, like just very generic, trying to churn something out. And the seldom hits that they do have, like I said, don't always end up going into the positive. So they don't have a really great track record in general.
I'm going to be sacrilegious right now and say I still have not yet finished Jack Ryan's 3rd season.
I haven't either.
Just haven't gotten back to it.
I know, John. Don't look at me like that. Or if you're looking at Troy like that, that's fine.
I'm looking at both you animals like that. Jack Ryan, the new season is great. All right, so
what about you, John? You're in the same boat or a different one?
No, I'm on a different boat. And it's not going to surprise anyone which one I'm going to name, but I want to address my thoughts on Prime right now. Prime is one that I don't necessarily count as one that I'm paying for, because with as much as I use the shipping service and as much as I get out of that, I find that that's what I'm really paying for. Everything else is just a bonus. But of the Prime shows that are on there, Vox Machina, Invincible, Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan, both the Jacks, I'll take them. There's a couple other. Bosch was a really great sit. The Expanse, they saved The Expanse and allowed them to finish their story, and that's an amazing show. So they have I understand that there's not a lot that's maybe for Amanda, but they do have a lot of great things for a service that I'm not necessarily paying for. I just happen to have access to because I'm getting the 2-day shipping and convenience out of that. So I mean, I understand your tastes are what they are, and Rings of Power. Definitely not necessarily the most exciting of stories, but such a beautiful thing to look at. Wheel of
For
Time.
sure. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Wheel of Time. Not necessarily the prettiest.
Yeah, great story, horrible effects.
A great story, not necessarily great effects. And so, yes, is there hit and miss? Yes. Is there any service that isn't hit or miss? Let's go back to Netflix real quick. Netflix has a few hits and a lot of misses, or a lot of seasons where it's like, well, this was a really great show. Not a lot of people liked it because maybe it's too niche. But if we're going to get to the one that I feel like I can live without, even though there's probably a lot of great things on it, it's a toss-up. But I'm going to go with the one that isn't going to surprise anyone, which is Apple Plus. I should be watching the hell out of at least 2 or 3 shows on there. I think I watched one and really enjoyed it, which was The Shining Girls.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really great show. I should be watching.
Shrinking. Isn't that
Shrinking?
That's up your alley.
Yeah, I should be watching Shrinking because apparently Jason Segel is my Hollywood alternative.
He is.
I can't be bothered.
You should be watching Foundation, Invasion.
I should be watching. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things.
Ted Lasso.
Fuck that guy.
He loves
There's
you
also
too. Believe.
There's also the
Severance?
podcast one. I don't care. What's the podcast one? The one with Olivia.
I don't even know if I know that one.
There's a podcast one which is it's a takeoff from
Truth Be Told
Serial.
is what you're thinking
Truth
about
Be Told,
with Octavia
yes.
Spencer.
Octavia. This is one of those own names.
We heard it both ways.
But I tried to sit down and start watching that show, but like I mentioned before, I still have this anxiety about watching new things. And Apple Plus, to their credit, is delivering on all the new they can possibly come up with. They're delivering on all the interesting stories they can possibly come up with. I just can't care. That's where I am. Troy?
Yeah, this is gonna be a hot take. I enjoyed Stranger Things. I enjoy Cobra Kai. I enjoy Squid Games. But if I were to cancel a service right now, I would cancel Netflix. I just don't. It's not the first thing I go to when I pull up my TV. If I pull up my TV right now, I spend a lot of time, I know, in Hulu because I still watch some, ABC, Fox, NBC type shows that come on the next day. I spend a lot of time in the Paramount Plus app, which everybody hates, but I've never had a single problem with the Paramount Plus app.
It's not a good app.
I would say Hulu on the living room experience on Hulu is the worst app out of all of the apps because I can never find my continue watching this or
Isn't
whatever.
that annoying?
It's so annoying.
It's so frustrating.
All the apps have started hiding that shit on you. Netflix has started hiding it on me.
Yep.
The only one that's
Disney
not hiding
Plus.
it on me is HBO. HBO MAX is the only one that's like, this pick up where you left off. And then some weird stuff started showing up, and I'm like, oh, I probably have to change my password to this because people are using my account.
Were people really using your account, John, or are you just ashamed to tell us what your fetishes are?
Could we go back to the first part of this before we started recording where I was like, here are my thoughts on this? Anyhow, I don't have any shame. I am. If we're going to start like slinging shame, we got a while to go before I catch up to Troy.
Ooh, shots fired!
I did watch. I watched Not Okay for the pretty girl and the Instagram stuff. I still watch Grey's Anatomy. So shoot me. I get it.
Yeah, like okay. So I have like you said, the Paramount Plus app is not the greatest. You know how I've been enjoying the Paramount Plus app? This is where Amazon gets you, because if you start signing up for some of those additional services through Amazon, and ever since Amazon has fixed or quote unquote fixed their broken app to be a little bit more user friendly, I have Paramount.
And on more platforms.
Yep. Yeah. So I just use that instead of using the Paramount Plus app. I connected my one other app that I was connecting through its own app, and I was getting commercials. But through Amazon, I don't get commercials through it. That's some shit.
Well, and here's the thing. I think you're onto something, John, because that's exactly why I am probably not in Netflix as much as most people because I do the same thing through the Apple TV app on my Apple TV because I have the Apple TV Plus subscription, and what I was watching on HBO is there, what I was watching on Hulu is there, what I was watching on Paramount is there. So literally I just have to go to the Apple TV app and then literally what's next? And literally I don't have to think. I just pick the next thing and it goes. Literally don't have to think. I have to go turn on, push button, hit play. 3 steps and I'm into whatever I was watching.
It sounds
before.
like you guys pay for too many subscriptions. You need more friends.
Well, we don't pay for subscriptions. We have friends that share their subscriptions with us.
But you can still access it through Amazon or Apple?
Yeah, once you're signed in, you're signed in because you're signed in.
Are you for real? This is mind-blowing to me. I thought this entire time that it was only if you, I'll use Amazon Prime.
Amazon, you can only do it as if you buy the channels through Amazon subscription service. Apple TV, it's literally looking at your apps installed on the Apple TV and curating it through AI to pull it into the Apple TV app experience.
Now clarify.
Yeah, see, that's something.
Oh, go ahead.
That's something that Microsoft should get on with the Xbox and just create like the movies and TV app that they have in there, which I use a lot for just because that's where I buy all my movies if I'm going to buy something for cheap. But they really need to go in and do the same thing on an Xbox, because their whole idea behind the Xbox was we're not necessarily building just a gaming console. This is going to be an entertainment console. And if they really wanted to do that, they would be doing that across the board with that app right there, doing exactly the same thing.
I need somebody to clarify something for me, though.
Shoot.
When you say Apple
6.5.
TV, are you referencing the actual Apple TV, or are you referencing the Apple TV Plus app?
I'm saying the Apple TV app, which you can get on any Apple device or even on it's on Roku. I think you can get it on a Fire Stick, but it's just the Apple TV app.
TVs too.
Yeah, so the Apple TV app, which then you could run on an Apple TV, which then you could buy the Apple TV Plus subscription, but you don't have to have an Apple TV Plus subscription to use the Apple TV app, which would curate all of your content into one place, except for Netflix.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So, but yeah, Netflix, I think I don't know. Like we got burned with Sense8, got burned with OA, got burned with a few of those things. They took off all the Marvel stuff, but now we're getting the Marvel stuff obviously back on the Disney. So Netflix is not a place I go first. It's not until Stranger Things comes out or Cobra Kai comes out.
Yeah, I've been trying to rekindle my relationship with Netflix, and it's almost borderline becoming the I've talked about many times how Sci-Fi and I had an argument back in the aughts,
right?
And it's still the same kind of argument I'm having with Sci-Fi, but now I'm having it with Netflix, which is I fall in love with something, I do want to see if I see a full well-rounded story of something, give me 2 seasons, but tell me those 2 seasons are a complete story. Give me 3-4 seasons, but tell me that's a complete story. Don't give me 1 or 2 seasons and I'm sitting there left holding the bag going, but I love this. What you're supposed to be I'm paying you directly for me to have this. And it just I do have that kind of relationship with Netflix. Which is
funny how you think about this, right? Because in linear television, old broadcast, right, we decided that we were going to watch free television over the air and not pay for anything and have advertisers, and then they would cancel the shows because they weren't getting the ad money. But now we're watching streaming services where we ourselves are paying for the service, and yet they cancel shows. Like that, to me, that doesn't compute because you already have my money.
You just made me so goddamn mad.
Right?
You just made me so goddamn mad. I didn't realize that I was making a good point. I was paying for this shit.
Right. I'm paying for it and I've already paid for it. So why can't you finish the show?
Why do they care if only a handful of the viewership was watching it or not? We're all paying for this shit.
Exactly.
Because they want to put the money into things that the majority are going to watch.
Yeah, but the majority of people are idiots, okay? They're dumb. That's
true. They're watching Netflix for the reality shows, man.
Which is exactly the same problem we had on broadcast, where it started becoming all reality and all very cheap to produce. And that's why I'm really nervous about my favorite one, which is HBO Max, with the whole Warner Brothers situation.
Well,
Aren't we
I was
all?
talking to a friend of mine, and he's telling me all about the Love Is Blind movie and how not movie but show, and I'm like, oh wait, that's on Netflix, and he's like, yeah. I'm like, what has Netflix done?
Yeah. And then they made the whatever it was, the Squid Game version of Squid Game that was a game show that didn't go so well, and
Watch, we're gonna have WrestleMania on Netflix soon.
eventually we have an NFL on Amazon, so MLB is on Apple TV.
What I liked was having a lot of those reality-based shows and like allocated to Hulu. That was nice because
You're all reality show network all the time.
exactly, like that's their foundation, is that they're more about those broadcast type shows. And for me, reality falls into that category. And so seeing all of these other networks, these other streaming services and businesses adapt that into their model, I shouldn't yuck somebody's yum because I know people really like reality shows and I'm just not that person. I live reality. I don't need to watch it. When I go home, I want to escape it. But
Yeah, that's why the app should now have the hubs, right? You go into the hub for Disney and you can get your Star Wars hub, your Marvel hub. You go into HBO and you get your HBO hub and your Studio Ghibli hub. So just have there be a hub for the reality content on Paramount, for example, right? Because you got Survivor and Amazing Race is still going, and that would much be a better experience to like say, if you want reality, go to the reality channel, and if you want the drama channel, go to the drama channel. And then, hey, look at that, we're back to cable all over again, just delivered over the internet. Which was your favorite? Do the converse, John?
That's a tough call. Because and the reason why it's becoming such a tough call all of a sudden was because HBO Max was for a while my go-to. I was really enjoying everything I was watching on there. I was able to dig up some cool old stuff. I was able to enjoy some good new stuff. But it seems like since this merger with Discovery, it's developing, if not a sour taste in my mouth, they're definitely hiding some of the cooler stuff. I just realized that the entire second half of that first season of The Nevers was published and dropped, but it was published and dropped on a different service. Oh, and by the way, you can't watch The Nevers on HBO Max anymore.
isn't that stupid?
Yeah, it is stupid. It is. I don't understand what the thinking behind that is, and I don't understand, with the exception of let's get that Josh Whedon stink off of us, but that, like, you're punishing so many people by putting it someplace and then not even announcing where it was. And if it wasn't for the fact that somebody I know has a great Plex server, I didn't have to go hunt it down. And that's actually how I found out that it had dropped, because they downloaded it. So if I were to say I had one specific favorite right now, I kind of have to go with Prime at the moment.
Don't make
They
excuses
do have
for it.
Vox Machina.
If you
so.
like it, you like it, you know?
Yeah, they have Vox Machina. They have right now. They have the stuff that I'm rewatching a lot of. I'm rewatching Jack Ryan, and I'm rewatching both the Jacks. Really, I'm spending a lot of time with Jack. And there's no drinking happening. There's no.
I was gonna say,
town.
what kind of Jack are we talking about?
Yeah, it's just me and the two Jacks. Vox Machina shows up every now and again. Again, I can't talk about enough how much I love that cartoon.
Amen.
There's just a lot of things. If I'm rewatching anything right now, it's on Amazon Prime.
Amanda, what about you?
So logically, what should be my favorite is Paramount Plus, because there's so much there, current and past, particularly in terms of film.
Okay.
Hulu for TV shows, because it has more of the ones that are more my favorites right now. But the thing is, the app that I use the most is still Netflix. And I think I just happen to be in that place right now in my life where I'm so busy constantly that I don't have time to really like digest new shows and new movies, like new content on the regular. So for the most part, unless I'm actively trying to watch something, I'm going to rewatch some of my favorites. I'm going to rewatch things that make me feel good. Or, and for a while, that was on Netflix, including Schitt's Creek. Now Schitt's Creek is on Hulu. So I spent a little bit more time on Hulu. But I even just started rewatching Bridgerton because I was like, ooh, I want to like rewatch the sex and the romance and the vibes and the drama because it's somewhat background noise for me. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity at the end of my days to spend an hour or two watching something new when I can just watch something that is something I've already seen that I know the details for, that I'm comfortable with.
But if you had that time, you're saying Paramount Plus.
I think for films, for sure, I would spend more time on Paramount Plus. It was HBO Max, for sure. But like, I'm with John. They've made a lot of changes that have put like a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't know. There's just something about it that's really thrown me off from HBO Max. But all around, like when I think about what I want, I tend to go more towards TV shows than I do movies. So at the end of the day, that's why I think I fall more into like Netflix and Hulu. I fall between those two most often. Hulu has the majority of like the shows that I'm continuing to watch that are like they're not sitcoms, but just the drama shows. And Netflix has the existing shows that I like to rewatch, my past shows that I like to rewatch. So I think it's more of a toss-up there between those two.
Yeah, I think it depends on seasonality for me. I know I was spending a lot of time in HBO Max because I love Studio Ghibli. I'll rewatch that stuff any day, every day. The Tale of Princess Kaguya is amazing. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. The content on HBO, just the back catalog on HBO. HBO has always been a quality brand. But lately I have been in Paramount Plus quite a bit because I've been watching Picard for Star Trek. I've still watched Survivor. Paramount Plus also does one thing that I think Peacock is missing out on, which is that Paramount Plus, I get the local CBS stream from my local channel. So if I want local news, I can just go to Paramount Plus and put on my local TV and get my local news channel because Peacock doesn't do that. Hulu doesn't give me an ABC stream. I think that's what those services are missing out on, to be honest. I can watch football on Paramount Plus without having to pay for anything additional because I get the CBS 2 Chicago Live feed in Paramount. So I think Paramount is definitely coming out as a winner. And I don't have any problem with the app. I put all my stuff in my list. I know exactly where my list is. Literally, I come in and if I say I need to continue watching Picard because I fell asleep or something, not that I'm falling asleep in Picard because it's bad, just because I tend to watch it first thing in the morning when I'm trying to wake up or when I'm going to bed when it drops. But then it's like it'll pick up right where it left off without a hitch. So I've never had a bad experience with the Paramount Plus app. Plus, Showtime is tied into the Paramount Plus app. So Yellow Jackets just dropped. I just mentioned Rabbit Hole. So there's just a lot of good content over on Paramount right now. But I do still have
good call-outs.
I still have my stalwarts, right? I've got to finish A Million Little Things on Hulu, watching Grey's on Hulu, watching Goldberg's on Hulu, watching I Met Your Father on Hulu. So Hulu's still in the rotation pretty heavily as well. But if they would just move the My Stuff app from the right all the way over to the left, that would be, or just land on the My Stuff to start with, or put the My Stuff as a channel. But I know that there is a redesign coming to the living room experience, which will look exactly like the Paramount Plus app. So good luck with that. For those
There's still like 2 streaming services that we haven't really talked about.
Peacock and Disney.
Yeah. And, well, actually 3 and Shudder.
Oh, Shudder. Yeah, I don't do a lot of Shudder. I had AMC Plus for a while, which I think included Shudder, but I was only getting AMC Plus for the Walking Dead verse and Kevin Can F himself.
Oh, I never got to finish that. Shudder is one that I think I wish I spent the money on. But I'm also really terrible about that, where I'm like, I don't want to spend money on anything that I might regret. So like when I go out to eat, if I eat somewhere that I've been to before, I'm going to reorder the same thing.
Yep.
Because I don't want to take the risk of spending the money on a meal that was prepared just fine, but wasn't something that I wanted or liked.
That's why I always
kind
eat
of operate
breakfast.
the same.
That's why I eat breakfast. Yeah. You can't mess up eggs and pancakes.
That's true. You can mess those up. I was at a hotel this week. So, but Shudder is one where there's so much horror content, and I love that it's genre themed. Like, I love that notion that I can just go to one app and like find pretty much any type of horror, thriller, that type of film in there. I do like that a lot. I give them a lot of credit because I don't think they get enough credit for what they do, and that they do put out some good quality stuff.
But that's exactly what begs the question, like we we're talking about with the reality shows. Is there a place for a streaming network that does just that content? And what's the price tag for that to get people to subscribe?
Well, with Shudder, I think the perfect price tag is to get picked up when you get something else. So, because I have Shudder, because I forgot that I subscribed to AMC Plus. And
send me your login, John.
Well, it's through Amazon, so it's not that. I wish it was that easy. That's the one problem that I have with it, is that like it's next to impossible to share stuff through Amazon. But do I? Now the question is, have I watched anything on Shudder? And the answer is no. But there's a lot of stuff I've perused it, and I've gone, God, I want to watch that. And then I'm about to hit the play button. I'm like, no, I'm gonna put it on something else and go to sleep instead.
Yeah, I mean, if Star Wars and Marvel weren't on Disney, I would not be subscribing to Disney at this point.
Yeah, the only thing I'm watching on Disney Plus is Mandalorian, and I'm okay with that right now.
The season's okay.
Yeah, I'm only okay with that right now. But I'm if it wasn't for the fact that the being able to sit, like if I can get my hands on the full season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Hawkeye, I can see myself unsubscribing from Disney Plus.
And the only reason I have Disney Plus is because it's part of the bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus. So if I didn't need Hulu anymore, like Hulu, Disney, ESPN would be out the door first. Because yeah, it's like it's like you said, which of these services are you actually paying for versus where do you get them through something else? So like I get my HBO because I'm an AT&T wireless subscriber. I don't know how much that's going to stay around because AT&T sold obviously HBO over to Warner Brothers, but as of right now, I still get it as part of my wireless bill. You get Prime Video for your Prime shipping subscription. I get Apple TV because it's part of Apple One with my family, other stuff that I have with, the exercise and the fitness and the games and the news and the music and whatever. Peacock I get because I'm a Comcast internet customer. So Paramount's the only one I'm paying for in Disney. And then Netflix is there.
Disney, I've never been crazy about it, but I do like the option that exists.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if
I just want to watch WALL-E today.
Right. Or I rewatch Moana a lot. So there's just like some of those that you can gravitate towards where and I think especially for anybody who like was born probably between the late 60s and the late 90s. There's a lot of nostalgia in there that you can go back to, or like if you have kids, it's the perfect platform for if you have kids, for sure, especially younger ones. But
I had a funny thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Tell me your funny thought.
So okay, as a kid, did I enjoy Disney? Yes, it was fine. Did I like going to Disney World when I was a kid? Yeah, that was very cool. It's a magical place. It's awesome.
Sure sounds like it.
Yeah. Well, wait until I get to why is this a funny thought. When I was a kid, I have a whole bunch of learning disabilities, and part of my learning disabilities was I hate being taught something. And not that I hate being taught something, but I hate it when you try to manipulate me into learning something is really where it comes down to.
Which is why you're not watching Ted Lasso?
Which is why I'm not watching Ted Lasso. So
that would teach John to be happy.
Right. I would be manipulated
into being happy.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I can't do it. Now when I was growing up, I loved the Warner Brother cartoons. You give me Looney Tunes up and down the street. Who was better, Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse? Fucking Bugs Bunny was the man. Okay, I didn't care if he was drag or not. He was still the man, and all that stuff. Mickey Mouse always felt like one of those educational systems that was trying to teach me something, and I hated it. I don't know
So
why.
needless to say, PBS was not in your vocabulary.
No, PBS was not in my vocabulary either. You couldn't every time they tried to put Sesame Street on for me, and even as a kid, I'm like, this is bullshit, and I hate you people for trying to make me learn something right now with funny, fuzzy, cute animals running around. I don't buy it. It's not real. Nobody teaches anyone anything. So yeah.
Such a realist, even as a 2-year-old.
I
really was.
Can I pull a John for a moment? Because I just had a magical thought. So we're talking about things we wanted to see animated with the Super Mario Brothers movie. And it just dawned on me that Super Mario is actually Wacko, Yakko, and Dot. So now I want to see the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister in the Super Mario universe.
Well, first of all, I can get behind half of your comment. Then I can take your comment and adjust it to something better, which is to see the Mario Brothers style animation, but it's the Warner Brothers cartoon. So Yakko, Wacko, and Dot doing their thing in that same style animation. I'm so for this.
See?
Look it, we just made John happy.
Guilty.
All right. Well, let us know what shows you are watching. Again, you can go over to @BuyPopcorn on Twitter, feedback at The Hollywood Outsider, or over in our Facebook group, where we have really great questions coming up from all of you. But before you do so, you can go ahead and find Amanda at Sync Into This on Twitter. You can find Arjan at Arjan Draws, Twitter and Instagram. And of course, me at Troy Heinrichs. You can also follow at Aaron Smirks if you want to. I don't know why, but it's out there as well. And yes, as Amanda alluded to, not only did we have the awesome John Wick promotion going on, but PETA did email all of us this week, except Amanda, because she wasn't on last week.
Because I wasn't here last week.
So we're actually going to potentially talk to those people and see maybe if we want to do something with PETA and maybe do an interview. We don't know yet, but just know that we're making the big times.
Just know that PETA's listening at the end of the day.
Oh, so good. All right.
No podcasters were hurt in the making of this podcast.
This is absolutely true.
Ooh, yes.
Aaron might have gotten hurt because he's tearing out his deck, but he's not on the podcast. All right. Some listener questions came in from all of you real fast. Jay Howard wanted to know if you had any thoughts, John, on James Gunn's comments on what Superman Legacy will be.
I'm holding all my comments on it because as we talked about in this episode, I'm not really good with change, and I'm not really good with a lot of adjusting or changing things or making me love something and then taking it away and then giving it to me in a different form. I'm not really good with all of that. I was a huge fan of Henry Cavill. I really enjoyed when Snyder was more involved with the DCEU, and but now that James Gunn's involved, I was reminded last night when I was in the movies that even a trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy gets me pumped. Can James Gunn bring me back into DC and show me something that I'll be happy with? It's possible, but I'm reserving most of my thoughts on that.
Fair enough. Jay wanted to also know if I could talk about Star Trek Picard and how great this season is. And I'm telling you, I think we mentioned it last week. Yeah, if you're a fan of Voyager, DS9, TNG, all the above, and the love of the lore of what those three shows have put together, Star Trek Picard Season 3 is a love letter to everything that has come in the 80s and 90s and beyond. Definitely check it out. Totally worth the watch, especially if you're from that era of TNG, DS9, and Voyager. It's so good, so good. And I think it's wrapping up either this week or next week. So definitely check it out.
Which iteration of Star Trek has this like kind of commander woman named Kira?
Kira is a Bajoran officer that is on Deep Space Nine.
Okay, so this is a gap of mine. Star Trek is a gap of mine.
Yeah,
but
so if you want good female characters in Star Trek, DS9 is full of amazing female characters. And of course,
so is
Voyager is led by Captain Janeway, and then eventually Seven of Nine, Jerry Ryan's character, the two of them working together. And even B'Elanna Torres on Voyager is actually really good too.
my brother named my baby niece Kira after after Star Trek.
After Kira Nerys. Yep.
Yeah.
You can call her Kiki.
Oh, that's a cute little nickname. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
She won't
Well,
know
my
the
buddy's-
difference because she's still a newborn, but
Yeah, my buddy has a daughter, and her name is Kira, and we call her Kiki.
that's cute. I like it.
This was for Amanda because I'm sure I pretty much know there's only one answer to this question. But Stanley says, what ongoing series, franchise, or universe do you wish would just end already?
What do you think my answer is?
The same answer I would have.
What is it?
Grey's Anatomy.
Okay, hell yes. I am so beyond ready for this show to end. Grey's Anatomy really just needs to cease and desist.
I will tell you, if Camilla Luddington leaves the show, then I am done. Like, she is the sole heart of why I still watch today.
Yeah, I really do love her, and she is underappreciated for what she's done for this show.
And if you haven't,
and how she's kept it together after, oh shit, what's his name? After what's his face left?
which one?
That's
Dreamy,
awesome.
Steamy.
No. Her ex.
Oh, her
Sleepy?
ex, yeah,
Sleepy.
dozy.
Snoozy,
I don't know.
dozy.
It's got to be one of the seven dwarves at this point.
It'd be kind of funny if
That's
someone goes back and actually like looks through the history of Grey's Anatomy and realizes that it was the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Really, at the end of the day,
That would be amazing.
Of course, she would end up with Doc, because hey. So my response to Stanley Daniels or Steely Dan's, as I like to call him, question is this: most of the shows that I would give this response to are already dead to me. So because I won't watch them, I don't give them the time, and like every time these guys bring up. You name it. Grey's Anatomy, dead to me. Ted Lasso, dead to me. Dead to me.
That was funny.
well played.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any of those shows, they just poof, they're gone. I will probably forget that I mentioned all of those I really should probably get checked out for pre-dementia or something at this point.
It sounds like what I'm hearing, John, and for you, Stan, for your answer, it sounds like John's just telling you he has commitment issues right now. He's not committing to a show. He's like, fuck this. You're going to disappoint me. I'm not even trying.
Yeah, no, but see, that's the thing. My commitment issues isn't that I can't get committed. It's that I get too committed, or that I should be committed. One of those two is where my commitment issue is. It's not that I'm afraid of committing. It's either that I'm either all the way in, or I should probably end up in a padded room. I don't have a problem being like, oh no, you can have all of me right now. I'm yours. That's not my problem.
Every time John goes all the way in, then somebody at a higher up network then decides to take his show away from him.
Exactly. That's my problem.
I get it. Nate Bruce.
And then I'm in the padded cell.
Nate Bruce said, if I go to South by Southwest, I guess this is for Amanda since Aaron's not here. If I go to South by Southwest 2024, do I pay a one-time fee for all the panels like you do at Paley Fest? Or do I have to pay for everything? I say, do I pay a one-time fee for everything, or do I pay individually, which is how you do Paley Fest if you don't get the VIP access?
Yeah, so you're going to pay for your ticket depending on what you're trying to go for and what level you want. And it's a pretty large price point, I'll say. It's best to get it the year before. So like right now is the perfect time to get your ticket if you're looking at next year, because the prices will continue to rise, and they have a sale, I think, right now on their tickets for 2024. The alternative is if you wanted to go to certain screenings, certain ones have like public screenings where you can just pay like the one ticket fee to be able to access the film. But the panels are going to be encompassed within one of the 2 or 3 different badge types. So you do have to pay for a badge to get your access to that stuff.
For those one-offs, you're not going to get till closer to the festival itself.
Yeah,
Because you don't know
they
what's
announced
coming.
that. Yeah, once it's closer, and it's not for every screening. And it honestly, like, I'll be perfectly honest with you, if you're trying to go for like the big blockbuster things that come out, like this year there was John Wick and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. if they even had a 1-day ticket, you would never get in because they're going to have priority for people who have express passes. So people with film badges and press access and stuff like that. And then those people aren't even guaranteed to get in. But if they all get in, then it's going to go to like the next level of access. And so they have different levels of like primary, secondary access levels.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that I think I've had enough of not going to South by Southwest, so I'm going to myself. I want to try to go ahead and go do my due diligence as part of the team and go. I know Aaron's going. Are you going, Amanda?
I mean, I'll always go if I can go, but if you want to go, you can go.
I think it's all depending on if we get press passes or not, right?
Yeah.
There's one thing to get in as press and another thing just to go as a person.
Well, yeah, I would definitely. I mean, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go with style and get that press pass.
Look for more reviews from John as the year progresses.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, I've so my job, I gotta evaluate my team members on a very regular basis, and I've discovered that the beauty of ChatGPT when it comes to doing that. So I put so much less thought into everything, and I just type my feelings out, and I tell ChatGPT evaluation, comma, good, comma, rewrite, and I copy colon, and I copy and paste my thing in there, and it rewrites everything for me in a more understandable way, and I'm like, yes. So I might start doing that with my reviews too.
Actually,
whatever gets them out there, right?
I actually had ChatGPT actually write me a review for the Goonies, both a good review and a bad review. Just ChatGPT, write me a review about the Goonies in 700 words. Go.
Right.
It was actually pretty impressive what it came up with.
How
it's scary.
Is that not impacting schools?
Oh, it's going to impact
and
everything.
College.
It's going to impact everything.
It's going to impact everything. That's why they're pumping the brakes on it. Or at least a lot of people in higher positions are trying to pump the brakes on development, because right now AI is the dumbest it's going to ever be right at this moment.
It just got smarter. Just got smarter. It just gets smarter. So I don't like the idea of AI. However, if it can be used responsibly in a way that cuts me some time in my day job, so that I have more time to do things at night or more time to appreciate my life, then I'm going to make use of it in the way that I think it's supposed to, which is broad strokes, and then I fine tune. It's no different than what we used to do, which was, hey, Google. And then it gave me answers, and I read a couple paragraphs and was able to figure something out that I didn't have a skill before. Now I'm just, instead of doing, hey, Google, I'm saying, hey, ChatGPT, do my job for me so I can go back and play golf.
Right. Do they have concessions at the theaters there at South by? I would assume yes, right?
Yeah, so they actually have, the screenings are all within the panel, or within the different venues. So like the Paramount Theater, the Stateside Theater, Alamo Drafthouse Theater, they have some smaller, more local ones like Violet Crown, and those venues all have their own concessions, and they kind of vary in terms of like if it's just popcorn and candy and alcohol and beverages, or if they have more like meals that are associated with it. Obviously, Alamo is going to be your best option to get food because it's Alamo and they have such a big menu.
But the big panels are at the Paramount.
Well, the panels, if we're talking panels, those are going to be held at the convention center. And so they have different things. They have food trucks outside, which are great. You're within close vicinity to food. And then inside they have all types of different like stops you can make. So like you could go to this one vendor who's going to have like sandwiches, one vendor who's going to have like pretzels and cheese and candy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options for you to choose from. It just depends on where you're going to be at.
All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. Remember, the next time you head to a theater or stream comfortably from your couch, buy popcorn. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
You a-hole took my line.
Because you listen to Smartlist, don't you?
No, I listen to some other stuff. Bye.